Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so thankful that you are listening today. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. If this is your first time listening, I hope you really enjoy this and you keep coming back for seconds. Don't forget to listen to the end of every episode. That's where we have the kids only segment where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Well, it is the holiday season and we are gearing up for Thanksgiving. You know, I love helping come up with the menu for Thanksgiving. That's something fun you get to do as an adult. If you're one of the ones that helps to make the food, you get to come up with the menu or help with that process. It's so much fun. And my favorite thing to make is desserts. So I love dreaming up ideas of what I'm going to have. Sometimes I like to find a new recipe and try it out, or sometimes I just ask my family what are their favorite things to eat. So let me ask you, thinking about dessert, what is your favorite dessert to eat around the holidays? Lots of good choices, right? There's cakes and pies and cookies and so many good things. I have lots of favorites. I think my favorite would have to be chocolate chess pie. If you've ever had it before, it's like a brownie and a pie mixed together. It's so good. Well, since I love talking about food so much, I thought it would be fun to talk with someone else who is also passionate about food and desserts. And I have to warn you, if you are hungry right now, you're going to be even more hungry after this episode because we are going to talk about lots of yummy food and desserts. My guest today is Whitney Miller Humphreys. Whitney is the season 1 winner of Fox's reality cooking show, MasterChef. She is a chef, cookbook author, recipe and menu developer, food stylist, and TV personality. She is the author of 2 cookbooks, Modern Hospitality, Simple Recipes with Southern Charm, with a foreword written by Gordon Ramsay himself, and Whitney Miller's New Southern Table. Now, the one thing that has remained her most requested menu item is her cookies. Their popularity sparked the idea for Whitney to create her own cookie company so that everyone could enjoy her cookies. And with that, she launched Whitney's Cookies, which ships nationwide. Whitney lives in Franklin, Tennessee with her husband, Ryan, and their 2 sons, Miller and Harrison. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this delicious conversation with Whitney Miller. Whitney Miller, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids podcast today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's really great to meet you, and I'm really excited to try your cookies very soon. I've heard good things.
Well, they are definitely an experience, and I always suggest people to take them out of their package and then warm them in the oven. If you cannot wait, the microwave's okay, but the oven just totally gives them the great texture on the outside and then melty, gooey on the inside. Oh yeah, so good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yes. Well, let's have you introduce yourself since we're talking about warm cookies. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Whitney Miller. I'm the season 1 winner of MasterChef with Gordon Ramsay on Fox. I was the youngest that has ever won at age 22. It just totally put my career on the map. I mean, I was still in college, and so I actually graduated and wrote my first cookbook in the same time period, which was insane. And I'm now the owner of Whitney's Cookies.
That's exciting. And so what does Whitney's Cookies do? Is it just cookies? Is that all you make?
So we do just cookies. We ship nationwide. So if you want Whitney's Cookies shipped to your home, just go to whitneyscookies.co. And that's cookies with IES. And we love to be able to bring joy to people. And we started really in the craziest time because it was the beginning of January 2020. And through that season, though, we really saw how people connected from afar. So they were celebrating birthdays with our cookies and sending them to their friends and their family. And I've just been continually being like a sweet way to minister to people. I mean, our cookies are sent to people when, it's a celebration, but also something, sad, but to cheer them up. So I feel like this is definitely a ministry and not just, a cookie business.
I love that. And I love cookies. So I'm really excited to talk to you today. But before we do that, because this is a podcast for kids, I always like to start out with a joke. So do you have a joke for us?
Okay, yes. So did you see Sunday's forecast? There's a chance of sprinkles.
Yes. Hopefully the colorful kind and not the rain kind.
Yes. The kind I put in my cookies.
That's right. That's so fun. Okay, so I have a lot of questions for you for sure because I love this. So you were on a TV show called MasterChef. How did you get connected with that? Like, how did you get on that show?
So it was such a God thing. I've always wanted to be a chef since I was really young. And I remember about 12 years old, I was like, I'm going to be a pastry chef because I've always had a sweet tooth. A little fun thing, my mom, before she went into labor, she had donuts. And so I was like, she gave me the sweet tooth early on. And I really was in the kitchen by myself, teaching myself with my great-grandmother. She taught me so much. And then my mom. And when I was a senior in college, I was actually going to be a dietitian, which I would have been someone to help not eat all the sweets.
Not eat
so
cookies.
Just a funny change of events. But I was in my senior year, and I really thought, this is not what the Lord has for me. So he literally shifted me right before I was going to go into a career that I knew was not in my heart. And he put me back into the path that he had for me. I was randomly on the site for New Orleans, lived an hour and a half from there in Mississippi, and there was an event going on, so I was like looking it up, and all of a sudden this advertisement for MasterChef auditions popped up, and I was like, oh wow, I would never have thought of myself to go on TV, but if it's to help me get into what I really want to do, which is be a chef, then this might be the opportunity. It was 2 weeks before the auditions, and I was like, okay, and I prayed about it, and then the Lord opened the door for me to do it. So I auditioned, and it was just kind of like American Idol. Like, you're standing in line, except instead of waiting to sing, I'm waiting to present my food. It was the craziest thing. And that was the first year. So I had no clue what MasterChef was. It had never been in the U.S. It had been in Australia and the U.K. Then I also did not know who Gordon Ramsay really was. So I had to look him up, and I was quite intimidated because he's has a presence about him that's very demanding and just very scary. And again,
Intense,
I'm 22.
yeah.
So that just gives you a little take into what MasterChef felt like and be a newbie into it all.
Wow, that's amazing. And he is pretty intimidating, like on TV. So is he like just like that when the cameras are rolling, or is he like that all the time?
He had a really funny sense of humor outside of the kitchen and off camera. And then when you got in front of him, in a kitchen setting, whether the camera was rolling or not, he just had this very demanding presence. But what helped me was he always pushed me for perfection. And I think you need that in your life. I'm sure a coach or a teacher or your parent does that for you. And he did that for me in MasterChef.
We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
That's so cool. And yes, you're right. We need people in that. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to feel that or for someone to tell you that you need to change something or you need to work on something else, but it's for our good, right?
Yeah.
What was it that you made for your audition? Like, what was the dish that you made?
So because my great-grandmother meant so much to me and she really helped shape part of who I was as a chef with Southern cooking, I did this like fun chefy take on like this roast. I mean, everybody's like Sunday roast their mom or their grandmother made them. I like chefied it up and don't even remember all the components, but I just remember that was really something, special. And so I had a story with it because I feel like to me, food is more than just food. It's a food memory. So anytime that I'm making biscuits in my kitchen, I think back on making them with my grandmother. And I think about a time that I sat down with her, made them, and enjoyed them. And it could be just, oh, I had a biscuit and I remember, oh, my great-grandmother making the best jelly. And so it's like food can so intertwine into our thoughts and memories and make it such a special thing more than just food.
That's so true. I agree. What was your experience like on the show? And because you won, so what were the things that got you to win the show?
So I just know the Lord was covering me in just protection. I mean, it was like I put on that armor every time I went on to the set to film and to compete. And He gave me peace. He gave me comfort. And it was literally like that armor of confidence, because I remember my first audition on the show, and it was me presenting this blackened catfish taco. And I had catfish because I'm from Mississippi. And one of the things was they loved the food, but they just weren't sure about my age. And I was like, oh, gosh, I can let my food speak for myself, but how can I battle this? Because they're like, you're too young. So I just remember it being like, okay, how can I get past this? How can they really see? And I remember telling them confidently, well, look, yeah, everybody else may have 10 years of experience. Well, I do too. I started at 12 years old cooking, making really great things as a 12-year-old. So my years of experience in the kitchen too, that's 10 years. But I just literally went to it and I was like, thinking back now, that's like 12, 13 years ago, the confidence that I had was unreal, but it was because the Lord literally gave me that confidence to move forward. And so every competition, I went in confident in my skills, everything the Lord had given me, even in the ability to speak on camera. That was so not me. I was the shyest kid, even up until my senior year of high school. It wasn't until after that the Lord was moving and working in me for those 4 years that I was in college.
Yeah, I think that's so good that you remembered those feelings of knowing that God was with you and that He gave you that confidence, because that's what He does for us. When He wants us to do something, He's going to help us the whole way through. And so He definitely provided for you in that way. And so you won the competition. What was that like? What was that experience to win?
So I just have to tell you, because the biggest part of the show that everybody remembers and they asked me about was the finale. So you can Google this. It's on YouTube, Hulu. You can watch all the episodes of MasterChef Season 1. But in the very end, and I'm going to kind of ruin it for you, but I dropped my piece of chicken. I was doing this buttermilk pan-fried chicken, and I dropped it in the last 10 minutes of the show. Literally, I'm just like, what happened? Everyone just like, you couldn't have just dreamt that would have actually happened. And it did. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, because I was an athlete, I played tennis in high school and college, I cannot forfeit. I at least have to try to do something. So that's a great lesson too of, again, the Lord was with me and I called on Him and I was like, Lord, I cannot do this. You've paved the way and I'm up to the point where all I have to do is reach, open the door and I could win this whole thing. But I have this and this chicken, this raw chicken that has to cook in 7 minutes standing between me and the win. And I remember praying over that chicken and moving and doing. And then Lord, okay, I don't know if this thing is cooked, but okay. And after 7 minutes, which is the Lord's perfect number, in the pan, yes. I put it on my plate. I go into judging and Gordon Ramsay, they're all watching, seeing what's happening and in disbelief that this chicken's going to be raw. And I knew I was finished if it was. So I presented it to them. Gordon said, is this piece of chicken cooked, Whitney? And I'm like, ooh, okay, Lord. this chicken better be cooked. And I mean, again, so
Yes.
he cuts into it, and he also cut into, he liked to tell me, the thickest part, which I was like, I'm just not getting a break here. He cuts into the thickest part, shows it to me, and he said, Whitney, it's cooked perfectly. I just remember just like the emotion that just poured over me. Oh, it just still gets to me because I'm like, I literally was part of the Lord's miracle. And he can literally use anybody. I mean, he used me because that is such a part of my testimony is everybody asks, how did you cook that chicken in 7 minutes? And I was like, well, the secret ingredient was prayer. And I did not cook the chicken in 7 minutes. The Lord did. So it's, looking back, it's like, wow, that was like the worst moment of my life when that chicken fell on the floor. But wow, what a blessing and what the Lord did in that moment. And still, like, it's still a question I get asked. So it was an amazing, surreal moment to, after that, be told I was the first MasterChef winner.
Wow. And so I'm guessing that the 7-minute chicken is not a recipe in your book, is it?
I went home, I was like, let me just see if I can do that again.
Right,
but I put a version of it in both of my cookbooks. So, yeah.
Okay. You said pray over it and then cook it a little longer, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you won MasterChef, which is about all kinds of foods, and now you have a cookie business. So how did you transition from this being a chef on a TV show to a cookie business?
So I've always loved desserts. I mean, again, at 12 years old, I was like, I'm going to be a pastry chef. And then as I got into the food world, I really did a little bit of everything. And I was known for being a Southern chef too. But my heart has definitely been into desserts. And I just love it. So on MasterChef, I won all the dessert challenges. I mean, like, people knew me for my desserts on the show. I was even deemed the pastry princess by like one of the contestants. So it was just a great leeway into, people have always asked, I want to be able to try your food. So you can order from everywhere. I mean, we ship everywhere, and you can be able to try my cookies. And yeah, it was just such a easy kind of transition into, this is my heart, this is what I love to do. And then anyone can be able to actually try my cooking.
That's very cool. What are your favorite kinds of cookies to make?
So one of our specialties is a stuffed chocolate chip cookie. So I've always been a brownie lover. And so I stuffed a chocolate chip cookie with brownie dough in the middle. It's like fudgy. It's like not overly indulgent, but still indulgent at the same time. I mean, it's amazing. So we like to stuff our cookies, for one thing, and then just like some really crazy fun flavors. Like right now I have a chocolate overload cookie that is literally everything chocolate. And then we put the brownie in the middle of that one. It has malt balls. It has brownie brittle in it, chocolate chips, like so good. You're going to get to try that one.
Oh, I'm so excited to try these. This sounds so delicious. And I love what you were saying at the beginning too, about how cookies are such a special way that you can care for someone. Why is that so important to share that with other people?
So there's several parts, verses in the Bible that talk about hospitality, show hospitality, do it without grumbling. And even someone that loves to cook, I have to think about that too, because it is what I love to do. But it does take a little bit more work to do it and to show God's love, even through the gifts that you've been given. And even if they are a gift, like, it's still, you have to do something with that. You can't just hide your gifts. And so hospitality and, the cookies and like thinking about others and how you can show love to others. And even though I'm on the end of it making them, and I pray over every note someone puts in the box that says who they're going to and why they're going to them. And so for me, it's such a blessing to be on that side of it. And people might not even know that I do that. But when you send a cookie to someone that's, because it's someone that's sick or a loved one that, has passed away, just know that on my end, I'm praying just as hard for you and for that family or friend.
That's so nice. And I love knowing that you pray over the cookies and the notes that are being sent out, because I think you're right. Like, it's so important to share what we have, our gifts, the things that we're able to do, we can't just keep them to ourselves. We've been given those things for a purpose. And I think sometimes we think, the gift that I have or the talent I have, it's not very special, or it's not amazing, or it's not something that someone else has, instead of just thanking God for what he's given to you to share with others and then using that for good.
And I just want to share as an encouragement too, like if you haven't found your gift, then pray over it. And don't stress that like, oh, I have to know what that is today, because you might already have it and you don't know it. And the Lord's just, it's not his time maybe for you to uncover that. But thankfully for me at age 10 years old, I remember sitting in a sermon, and it was on a sermon of spiritual gifts. And the Lord spoke to me at 10 years old, because I was already a believer at 7, that my spiritual gift was cooking. Now I'm flipping through the Bible and I'm like, Lord, I don't see this one. They didn't say that one. But, it was hospitality, with that. But he was going to show me later on cooking was definitely my spiritual gift. And then as even into adult, he constantly is teaching me how I can use it to serve him.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think the things that we have that we're good at, sometimes it takes a while to discover those. And there are things I'm learning about myself right now that I didn't know I could do when I was a kid, but I'm learning it now. So as we just continue to care for other people and stay close to God, he shows us those things as we go through life. And so there's lots of things that he gives us to give away. So that's really cool. So you have a cookie business, and you're a mom also, right?
Yes. To 2 boys. 6 years old is Miller, and he has my maiden name, so I still go by Whitney Miller, but I'm actually Whitney Miller Humphrey, and so Miller is my first, and then I also have a 3-year-old Harrison.
Yeah, and I'm sure they love your cookie business.
Yes, so they will go with me to the bakery, and they've learned how to make them all. They like to do the cleanup whenever there's a big bowl of leftover cookie dough, they scrape the edges.
And I'm sure it's a giant bowl. Like I have a small bowl, and when I make something, I'll give a spatula. Like that's all you get. But you probably have vats of dough.
So our cookies are this big. They'll fit in your whole palm. And yes, out of our bowl is probably about the size of one of my kids. I mean, it's huge. And we make about 150 cookies out of a huge batch.
Wow. Is that something that you've had to figure out, how to take a recipe for a small batch and create it into a big one?
Yes. I mean, I just use a regular little stand mixer for my test kitchen projects of, creating each recipe. And then I have to take that and make it into the big batch. And so the funny thing is I did not like math as a kid. I still don't really love it, and I have to use it every day. So you kind of think in school, gosh, what am I even learning? Am I going to be able to use this? Yeah.
You will. Unfortunately, I know. Yeah. Or you have to figure out how to help someone else help you, get someone else to help you figure out the math. That's the other life lesson you can learn too.
Yes, have smart friends.
Awesome. That's right. Surround yourself with people that can do different things. That's important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about fall, because we're right in the middle of fall. We have all these holidays coming up. What do you love about fall and baking and things? Because that's what I put, all the warm cookies and soups and things like that. So what do you love about fall?
Oh my goodness. Yes, there's just something about the smells. I mean, someone could even just have the smell of cinnamon in their house, and immediately your brain goes to all the things that you love that has cinnamon rolls, cinnamon toast, or for me, a coffee that has cinnamon, and so it's the smells, it's the ingredients. I get really excited about pumpkin, just like everybody else in America. And so we're doing a pumpkin chocolate chip cookie. And then we also are doing a s'mores cookie, which those are literally probably the top 2 most popular cookies. Those cookies are crazy popular, and for good reason, because they just give you that sensation of you take a bite, and what does your mind go to when maybe you bite into the s'mores? Did you ever grow up going and doing s'mores, maybe at a church camp? Maybe y'all had a big roast out or a bonfire with your family. It's those kind of little food memories, and fall just helps generate that, I feel like.
Yes, for sure. What about the holidays? What do you love about celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas?
So even what I love is people are reaching out more in that time period for help with cooking and with recipes, because it's actually a time where even people that don't love to cook, they're cooking during that time, which is just really makes me excited, because I love inspiring people to cook and to get together in the kitchen. I mean, my family and I, every holiday, it's like, from breakfast to dinner, we're all together in the kitchen. There's memories that are being made, the fun, the laughter, and just everything involved, and then sitting around a big table and enjoying a meal together.
Yes, I enjoy cooking a lot. One of the things that it's not my favorite, not that I don't like it, but it's not my favorite, is that you work the entire day to put this meal together, and then everyone eats it in like 15 minutes and then you have to do dishes. That's just not fair. Like, can you guys slow down and enjoy the flavor?
That's what my husband said. He does the grill. I do all the inside cooking, and he says the same thing about why he doesn't actually like to be in the kitchen and doing the cooking. But you got to have the family members that are like, oh, you know what? Since you did all that, I'll do the cleanup, and then you can relax.
That's right. Very good. You need those people in your life too. Well, Whitney, this has been so good. I've loved meeting you and talking all about cookies. Now I'm ready for a giant cookie. I can't wait.
And a glass of milk, and you're set.
Yeah. And a huge glass of milk. Yes. And I'm going to warm it up in the oven, like you said. That's really a good idea. That makes me excited.
And I also want to give my verse that was really special for me when I was on MasterChef, and I think it will really speak a lot to your audience, and that's 1 Timothy 4:12. Do not let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity. This was my verse that the Lord gave for me when I was on MasterChef, when everybody around me was saying I was too young. And then I wrote it on every one of under my signature when I would write my signature in my copies, my first cookbook. So it just means so much to me, and hopefully it will encourage you too.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you shared that verse with so many other people. Before I let you go, I always like to ask my guests to share a memory from when they were a kid. So do you have a memory you want to share with us today? Okay,
so I remember just loving to eat. And my mom said I was at the stove at like 3 years old, stirring. And one of the things that was really special in my family was that we did breakfast in bed for when it was your birthday. So I would set my alarm, because I know my parents got up early, set it so early so I could get in the kitchen. And I remember making my mom coffee, making breakfast, and then we would have like little trays, and we would put everything on the tray and then bring it into their room. And it was just like a special thing, because it was like how I can contribute to making each of my family members' day special. And so that's really just a special memory. And I try to still do that, now with my family, my own kids.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this. This is amazing. Tell our listeners where they can find you and your cookies and where they can order them.
Yes, so Whitney's Cookies, WHITNEYS, and then cookies.co. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook at Whitney's Cookies. And then for recipes, it's whitneymiller.com, and you can find me at Chef Whitney Miller. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Whitney Miller.
I love that. I definitely encourage everybody to follow her and to go try some of her cookies. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Whitney.
Yeah, thanks so much. I had fun.
That was so good. I loved meeting her. I love the verse that she shared. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. You can still be used by God no matter what your age or experience or influence is. And she said that she felt like cooking and hospitality were gifts that God had put in her. God had created her and gave her these gifts to share with others through her whole life. And it was for a purpose. And that purpose is to serve God and help others. And we can do that in so many different ways. I loved learning about her cookie business and that she prays over every box that she sends out. I highly recommend that you watch the last episode of MasterChef Season 1. It's on YouTube and Hulu and other places, I'm sure. I'm telling you, it was incredible to see how she put together her dishes and that chicken and knowing how she was praying and relying on God to help her keep going. You got to see it. It's so exciting. It's a really good show. And y'all, her cookies are amazing. My family got to try 4 of her cookies and we were floored how good they were just out of the oven, just like she said. If you want to see our reaction to eating her cookies, I will repost that video on my social media. If you're interested in buying some of her cookies, I suggest you head over right now to whitneyscookies.co and you can order some that can be shipped to your house very quickly. You can also go to whitneymiller.com to get recipes and learn more about Whitney and her family. And you can follow her on Instagram and Facebook at Whitney's Cookies or Chef Whitney Miller. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So this is my friend Molly.
Hi, my name is Molly and here is my joke. What do you call a snake in a bakery? A python.
A python. I get it. That's good. Man, I am so hungry after all this talk about pies and cookies. Well, if you would like to be on the podcast just like Molly was and share your favorite joke, or maybe you have an encouraging quote that you like from a book or a movie, or you have a Bible verse or a song that you want to share, just go to my website, collidekidspodcast.com, and click the tab at the top that says Kids Only. Or you can find information about how to send it to me through my social media. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. You can also follow me there and learn more about some exciting things coming up very soon. If you'd like to support the podcast, be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast on your podcast app, whichever one you're listening to right now, and leave a rating and a review. When you do that, it's always a help and an encouragement to me. I love reading those. You can also share this episode with friends and family and tell them why you and your family like to listen. Or you can go by my website and click the link at the top that says support. And anytime you think about it, I always appreciate your prayer support as well. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing time with your family as the holidays kick off. I hope you get to eat lots of yummy desserts and also spend some time reflecting on the things that you're thankful for. Well, I'm thankful for you, and I'm so glad you listened today. And in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.